welcome back to ZK Master Tech. I know I've been gone for a little while, but guys had a lot of work to do. It's crunch time and harvest has already started. So the time in the end of August, the beginning of September is my busiest time to try to get combines done, so I haven't had time to push content out. But this morning, we're going to go look at an X9 combine. Good customer from Twin Farms, John Deere, has said that his unloading auger will not latch and it's setting a code for it. So there's a hydraulic latch on the X9 that will latch the auger in the closed position. So, you know, you got a 31-foot auger, you don't want that thing creeping out and flying into a telephone pole or something like that. So we're going to go see what's going on there. More than likely, it's probably the adjustment on the turret in the grain tank we need to adjust. So let's go see John. Okay, here she is. X9 1000, brand new. Just been to the field cutting beans. Let's I'm gonna fold out this unload auger and we're gonna see how it acts once it gets out of the cradle. If it drops down a little bit after you get it out of the cradle, we're gonna go ahead and do a adjustment there in the grain tank. Okay. Let's get the grain tank unfolded. We're gonna watch this auger in the mirror. Uh-oh, we're spinning beans. Yeah, see that? Definitely has to raise up pretty hard to get it in the cradle. What's going on here? Some charge error codes. Don't know why. Inactive though. There we are right there. Unloading auger latch swung-in issue. Well, I've seen that a bunch, so we're gonna swing this out a little bit, get it unlatched. About right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my crane on the end of this auger right here, and we're gonna pick it up and put some pressure on it. And then we're going to loosen the bolts on the turret and get that sucked back to tilt this a little further back like this, and then it'll go into the cradle straight. Let's get tooled up. And we're gonna need the Milwaukee high torque. And we're gonna need a swivel 24 and a long extension. All right, so I'm gonna wrap a lifting strap around it there. And then if you look down here, you can see that hydraulic latch right there. See that right there? That's what's not engaging. And that's because, see the cradle? It's hitting the cradle too low, and then has to take a lot of hydraulic force to try to ramp it up and try to lift it up into the cradle. We want it to just go straight in. So we're gonna lift straight up on this. We're gonna lift up. All right there. We're in the grain tank looking at the top turret support of the unload auger. See how you can see the slot showing on the left-hand side of the bolts? You don't want that. We want this turret support to be about the middle of that slot right there. So while we got pressure up on it, we're gonna loosen these bolts here, and then all these bolts here, and then we'll tighten these back right here first. That'll shift this back over, and then we'll lock down all the bolts on top. See that? How that shifted and popped? Okay, well it shifted over a little bit, maybe not quite as much as I'd like to see. But we're gonna just see what it does. 'Cause I got a lot of pressure on that auger. I didn't really want to put any more pressure on it, so it did move though. I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch that way, but 1/8 of an inch here makes a huge difference, 31 feet that way. So let's try it and see what happens. Let's set this down. So you can already tell there's quite a bit of difference already. All right, let's give it a try. You guys watch right there. We'll see if this thing raises up or it falls down out of that cradle. All right, so I tried it. It did look better going in and out of the cradle, but it was still setting the code that it wasn't swung in all the way. And looking at the latch, it wasn't going into the latch far enough to trip the sensor to know that it's all the way in. So I had to reposition my crane to get a little bit more lifting force on it. And I picked it up, put 3,000 pounds of lifting force on it, and then loosened those bolts again. Now the slot is pretty much gone. It moved over quite a bit. So now we're gonna retry it and see what happens. Okay, so the problems continue. I got that turret adjusted where I like them in the tank, and it's always worked for me before. I've never had to do this, but now it's actually worse. Now the pin, before it would stop about here, but now it's stopping like back here. Well, we tilted that back quite a bit, so what's happening is this pin's kind of getting rotated back like this, and I think it's hitting right here where this shiny spot is. So I'm going to try to take this loose and get this apart and try to get this shifted over this way a little bit to try to get this pin to hit center in here, and maybe that's what's stopping it. It's just bottoming out right here and it can't suck it in any further. Okay, so I got this loosened up and slid back. As you can see, there's two slotted holes right here, and then there's two pins in here that engage in that, but I was already back all the way, so we're going to grind out about 3 millimeter out of these slots so we can get that just tucked back just a little further. So I got those holes grinded back a little bit, and we're going to reposition this back on here and see if we can get this lined up. All right, so after I adjusted that pin back, it hits the latch good, but it still wasn't going in all the way. I ended up having to loosen the turret just a little bit, dropped it down on the cradle more, and now it goes in all the way, and the coat went away, went to stored. So there's 3 18 millimeter bolts right there on the cradle that you can loosen and get that cradle adjusted. Now you do want some of the weight of the auger resting on that cradle so it isn't bouncing going down the road, but you don't want the auger to have to lift up to go up into the cradle. So loosen those and get that adjusted right there. Okay, got that problem fixed. Man, I got hot, dusty, I'm filthy and sweaty already. That was the hardest one I've ever adjusted ever. Usually I just pick up on it, loosen those bolts on the turret, slam them back down, and it's fine. Oh no, not this one. So I'd adjust the turret like 3 different times, adjust the cradle 4 times, and then ended up having to take that pin off the tube and waller out those holes to get the pin to line up a little better in the latch. And now she's cherry. Now the pin goes all the way in. It has to go all the way in for that sensor to tell it that it's fully closed. So if it doesn't go all the way in, it's not gonna work. So I'm gonna go on the next service call here and see what's going on with that. All right, back on the road again. We can thank Caleb for that last service call. He was riding with John yesterday. Part of Caleb's job in the AMS department is to get the customers started, getting to the new machines and getting them set up and getting all the settings just right. And they were cutting beans yesterday with that combine with a 45-foot draper, 5 to 6 miles an hour at 80 bushel beans. That's impressive. That's a game changer in the combine world, because I've seen 790s crawling at like 3 to 4 mile an hour, sometimes even less, eating that kind of beans. So those X9s will sure cut some beans in a hurry. And of course that code came up on them yesterday when they were running in the field. So Caleb called me and he goes, oh yeah, I can just swing by there, and maybe take me 15-30 minutes tops. I'll have that adjusted and code will go away. Nope, that's not how it went at all. So now I'm behind, and I've got 2 more places I need to be today. The next place we're gonna go is we're gonna go look at a 8400T. So it's an older row crop tractor, 2-track, and the customer says that the track on one side is getting loose. So this is their first track machine. They don't really know much about it, so They wanted me to take a look at it, see why the track's getting loose, and then just kind of giving her a check over, see if there's anything else I think the tracks need. So let's go look at this 8400. And here it is. Boy, that track is loose. My goodness. That's not good. What's the other side look like? Oh yeah, fiddle string tight. Okay. Well, kind of looks like we got a leaking cylinder. There's hydraulic oil down there, oil on the cylinder, so that's probably explaining why it's leaking down. So overall track condition, I mean, the tracks don't look too bad. A little bit of wear on the inside on this track compared to the other side, but it's not absolutely horrible. I don't think they need replaced just yet, but the drive wheels got some pretty good wear. Mid rollers, you know, are cracking. The other mid rollers is like on the other side, it's like real lumpy. It's kind of weird. But idlers, I mean, everything on the undercarriage of the track here has got some age and wear on it. But you know, that's pretty typical. This thing ain't no spring chicken. You can see the oil laying in the track down there. The other side, the track is in a little better shape. I mean, we've got a little bit of wear right there, but it's not horrible. But I think the main problem is the drive wheels and the mid rollers and the idlers. I mean, they still got a little bit of life left. I'm not saying just it's absolutely junk, needs replaced, but this cylinder's not leaking at all, so that's a good thing. But look at this. Kind of weird. Got that hump right there. And here's our accumulator. So these are charged with nitrogen, and then it's the oil line goes from the accumulator to your cylinder right here, and that's what's helping keeping tension on that cylinder. But it also gives you a little bit of shock absorber as well with that high pressure nitrogen. So I'm not sure what the pressure is. I'd have to take these accumulators off and take them back to the shop and hook them up to a nitrogen tank and a gauge to actually check them. But I think minimally we need to either rebuild this cylinder on this side or replace it. I guess it just depends on parts what I can get for that thing or not, and at least get the track tension for the guy. And I think he can get a little bit more life left out of these tracks. Or, you know, if he's planning on keeping the tractor for a long time, maybe we go ahead and start upgrading the drive wheels and the idlers and the mid rollers and everything. But I'm gonna look up the parts for the cylinder. All right, so I checked with parts. I can get a rebuild kit for that cylinder. So I'm just gonna plan on coming back early next week and getting that track frame jacked up to where I can get those idler wheels off and take the cylinder off and rebuild it on my truck. Shouldn't be too bad to do one of those. But now I'm en route to go finish up a couple combines for Trilogy Farms that I've been working on this week, trying to get them done. Got to get those combines done this week, so then I can go back next week and do that cylinder on that track frame, and hopefully things in the field will still be fairly calm. I mean, we do have combines running right now, but it's not everyone all at once, so that's a good thing. We got a little bit more time. I just need to get 2 more combines done, and then, you know, then everybody can go to the field. So I'm gonna head to Ridge Farm, Illinois, and go work on some combines. And we're here. You guys have seen this combine multiple times on the channel. We have done all kinds of work to this thing, and now we're just doing a few things, you know, to get it ready for season. Didn't need a whole lot, but right now I'm actually working on the tailings auger. The lower sprocket and keyway got all sloppy on the auger. The auger keyway was worn, the flighting was worn down pretty good, so putting a new tailings auger in it right now. I went to get the sprocket out of the box and it had the right part number on the box, but the sprocket in the box was the wrong one. So supposedly I have the correct one here with me today. I hope it says correct one in box, so high probability it is. So we're gonna I got the auger kind of halfway in here. I'll show you. So on these combines, this is a S680 combine, you got to take the auger out right here, and guess what sits right there is your other battery. So you got to take the battery out in order to feed that through all the way in and out. So we got a new one kind of fed in there just far enough to where we can slide the sprocket on the other side. The first thing I need to do is get a keyway in there. New key. Slide it in. Take our new sprocket. Slide it in. Oh, like a glove. Now we're gonna thread it in. Get it in there. We got a sleeve. The sleeve goes on. I got a new bearing flange. Stick some bolts through. I'm going to take a new bearing. Make sure the cammed eccentric is towards the outside. Now we're going to stick this guy in there. Now we're going to get this side together. Got a nice breeze going through here. I'm liking it. Yep, pick her up. Bloop. Gasket. Transfer the sensor over to a new. Put the lock color / toenail on. Put the lock color on this side. The bearing I took out of this side was absolutely shot. All right, now we're gonna hook a new paddle chain from Sloan Express and roll it in with the old one. Okay, got a new paddle chain from Sloan Express. It's an A&I product. It's just as good as the factory Deere ones in my opinion, and they're quite a bit cheaper. So trying to save customers some money, putting in a new paddle chain here. So I just hooked it up to the original with my old master link and just put one S hook in it. And we're going to pull down on the old chain and run the new one up. Paddle chain is in there, and I adjust it with this. You force this down until the chain, you can move it back and forth on the sprocket, but you can't pull it away from the sprocket. And I put them just a little bit tight when they're brand new because it's going to stretch a little bit when we first run it. So I can still move it back and forth, but just barely. It's pretty snug, but it'll loosen up after I run it. And then I use S hooks instead of the cotter pins it comes with because I prefer the S hooks. They last a lot longer and don't fall out as easy. So now I just gotta slam these nuts down here and tighten this, and then put the little protective cover over that. All right, now that the tailing's all done, I got the battery in on the other side. I'm gonna move to the clean grain elevator. So that's what's moving all your clean grain from the bottom of the chaffer and sieve elements down to your auger, brings it all the way up into the tank. But there's a belt drive system that drives this elevator. As you can see on this chart right here, that's what it looks like. Well, these two little idlers right here, the bearings are starting to get noisy in those, so I'm going to change those two right here. But on this one right here, I'm having trouble with the belt alignment on it. The belt is not running right on it, so I'm going to put a couple extra washers on it to shim it out that way, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I got the idler replaced, that one, this one right here, and the one above it. I had to take the cover off in the grain tank to get to that one. I got those both replaced. I ended up having to put 4 washers on the end of the bolt on this one to shim it that way some more, so the belt wasn't riding on the outside of the pulley. Now I've got a little gap there, which I'm happy with. All right, well, I ran out of time because I got an hour drive back to the shop, and I need to leave the shop at 5 today, so heading back to the shop. When I get back, I'm going to show you guys a new service truck update that I got. You might have caught it in a video because it's been on there for a little bit, but I haven't shown it off yet. But I got a pretty good size upgrade for the Stellar T-Max bed that I think you guys are going to really like. So stay tuned.